Most of you know, I feel like I say this every time, I have the privilege to get to interview the infamous Dr. Dinah Dye. I'm going to just tell you a little bit about her that most of you already know. She is seen all over the place. Messianic Lamb Radio, Israel TV Network, God's Learning Channel, Saturday Church Community, and of course, Foundations in Torah. Dr. Dinah Dye was raised in a conservative Jewish home in Ottawa, Canada. She holds her doctorate in Hebraic Studies and Christianity. Dinah has been connecting the roots of the Gospels and Epistles to the Torah for over 40 years. I don't know how that's possible when you're 29, but anyway, through her ministry, Foundations in Torah, most of you have seen her speaking at conferences and in front of many, many congregations. You know that she's a regular on programs as on Israel TV Network. Much of Dinah's research revolves around temple studies, which she believes holds an important key to understanding the Bible. Her books, The Temple Revealed in Creation, The Temple Revealed in the Garden, and The Temple Revealed in Noah's Ark, are available on Amazon. Her latest project is the Temple Revealed workbook based on her 3 books, which she teaches as a 12-week course, which the Ruda Cafe was blessed to be her beta test group. We got to go through that with you. Welcome to Messi-Antics. This is fun.
Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, you guys are
I've given all my books away of yours except for this one, and I was like, I hold on to this with like my cold dead hands. If someone, I'm like, I have too many personal notes in this one, but I will. All of those books are available on Amazon, and I'm excited about this workbook. This has been a love project.
Oh, totally. I can't thank the Ruda Cafe ladies enough. I mean, they had to put up with me trying to figure out what on earth I'm doing, but it's been very successful. I've taught 4 courses in this last, say, year and a half, take on about 15 to 20 students at a time. We go through the 12 weeks. I was finally able to refine it and get it more concise and succinct, and it's been really good. So thank you.
It has been a blast, and we still have that on our library for our Ruda Cafe members. Cool. Anyone, they can still go in there and watch it and go in and find now the recordings, and we have those in there. I'm excited with the link now. They can go get the workbook and go through that course, as well as sign up for one of your courses if they want to get the revised.
Yeah, the
revised version.
Yes.
We had fun though. It was a really great class.
I wandered off the reservation a lot.
Yeah, but it was good. It was very good. I want to ask, this is interesting for you that you're coming at this from a completely different place than most of our guests on Messi-Antics, because most of us came in from a traditional Christian upbringing, and all of a sudden, the word came alive to us. Or for me, it was like all of a sudden I'm asking, why is Passover 3 weeks from Easter? That doesn't make any sense. And then it just popped open from that prayer. God, if it's not you, I don't want it. He said, okay, are you sure? But for you, that was different. Why was that different for you?
Well, being raised in a conservative Jewish home, so that was my surrounding. My parents weren't highly religious, but we did attend synagogue. There was a period where we went every week, Shabbat. They kind of backed off of that. After a while, we had Passover. I celebrated Passover from the time I was 1, right, in my grandmother's home. So those are very vivid memories. We did Sukkot at the synagogue. So all the festivals were a part of our year. And one of the things, I attended Hebrew school when probably around 6, 7, 8 years old. And every day after school, I would go to another school. I would go to Hebrew school. My mother would take me. So there was a lot planted in there. I knew the Old Testament, the Tanakh pretty well, and then I kind of went off to when I got into high school and early 20s into the New Age. I was the classic wandering Jew. Every Jew's looking to fill their heart with God after they left. But so my early years were really rooted in the Torah. So it was like, I didn't have to come to the Torah. I already got that, right?
Right.
But now I have to figure out the bridge between the New Testament and the Torah and the Tanakh, really.
So how'd that happen for you?
Long story. You can go to my website and hear the whole version because it's pretty funny. I'll just sort of start with when I finally did kind of come around, because I traveled all over the world. I lived out of a 14-pound backpack for about 5 years. in search, right? I did a lot of very strange things. I took ships from Athens to Barcelona and met a guy who was into Star Trek, sure. It's weird stuff. But one of the things, I had gone to it was called the Quimby Center down in Alamogordo, New Mexico. I went for a past life reading, right? That's what they did with the crystals over the body and the whole thing. And he told me in my last life, I was a disciple of Christ in Israel. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. And so when I came back to where I was living in New Mexico in Taos, I checked all these books out of the library on Peter and Paul, their lives, and I actually read the Bible cover to cover in a week.
Wow.
And I got to the story of the woman caught in the act of adultery. And that was my moment where I went, oh, I've been looking everywhere. I had sort of these things I had used as my backdrop to try to figure out the truth. It was based on love, that was for everyone. And so as I filtered through all the different religions that I went through, I looked through that lens, and I realized that, Yeshua was who he said he was. Jesus, of course, was the Messiah. That was my moment. And of course, then that started an entire new journey, right? Now I'm in a church and I'm like the only Jew in the church trying to go, where do I fit?
Yeah.
And as I'm reading the New Testament, I see all these things connected to the Torah and the Tanakh, the prophets. It's like, it was so easy for me to see, because that's where my upbringing had happened. And no one else could see it. I'm like, what's the matter with you people? Of course, it's obvious.
Right here.
Yeah. So that, the church I was in, I was very young at the time. It was 1979. I think I was 27 or something. The pastor, we just started a new church. It was Assemblies of God up in Taos, New Mexico. And he was needing someone to take the youth. So he gave me that job about a week after I was, quote unquote, saved. So I began to teach
How
the youth.
about you be in charge, the newest person be in charge of the most formidable minds? There you go.
Go for it. But I started teaching those kids about the Tanakh and the festivals and all that. That's what I imparted to them in 1979 through 1984, somewhere in there. And so they received that education. I don't know if they ever appreciated it, but that's how it was for me. It was completely different.
That is so cool. So this process, we talk a lot about how it's messy, a lot of times coming from Christianity into following Torah, because there's a lot of change, and change is strange. And there's some things that we've been told, oh, that's done away with. Oh, that's the old law. So for us, we're coming out of Christianity into trying to walk out pursuing Torah. There can be some messy moments. I can imagine the reverse is also true for you. Do you have any messy moments in this transition?
Yeah, I think that was sort of the early years in the church. I was kicked out of quite a few churches.
You're kidding.
The problem was always that I knew more than the pastor when it came to the Tanakh. And so, I was young. Like I said, I think I was 29, 28. And I'm just, raise my hand and go, oh, with the answer. But it wasn't the answer that the pastor expected. And I can't tell you, it just would happen over and over again. Then they would let me teach, and then they would get really mad because the things I was bringing out, they didn't want anyone to hear. And then I would be removed from my teaching position, summarily removed from the congregation. So those are kind of my messy moments. And, I went, we were in sort of Pentecostal circles, Assemblies of God, Foursquare, those kind. And it just was so frustrating, because between being a Jew and being a woman and knowing more than the pastor, and only in a knowledge thing. I mean, I wasn't a shepherd. I didn't have good skills shepherding what I could teach. I had a lot of that. That was tough.
Yeah, I can only imagine. There was a moment when I had in a Pentecostal Church of God, and they were talking about Noah's Ark, and they were asking about people were talking about the children. And I said, they were saying, well, it'll be like in the last days, and the children will not be raptured. The children will be raptured and won't have to go through anything. I'm like, but those babies drowned in Noah's Ark. Like, those babies drowned. And I started asking questions. Well, if those babies drowned, don't you think that's why he said, woe to the mother who's nursing? Because those babies will have to go They're going to have to go through things,
Right.
at that time when they were talking about all that kind of stuff. And I was like, so I feel like that's all the more reason that we need to nurture these kids and teach them things, because I feel like this is important. And they kicked me out of that church. So,
well, we have to be willing to let people ask questions. This is the biggest, this has sabotaged our walk.
right.
And it's so frustrating to me because really, I don't approach things as in a theological setting. I tend to be a little more creative in my thinking, but my goal is always to let people think and ask questions, because there's holes in the text on purpose by design. The writers left things out or added things in because they were bringing an interpretation of the scriptures from their perspective. There's a lens, a filter there. And if we're not allowed to ask questions, there's things that don't make sense. And could we just admit that? And we need to admit that to our kids. So ask away. I may not have the answer, but hey, let's look at this passage and say, what is strange about this passage? What is the writer trying to communicate to us? So questions are absolutely imperative if we're going to have a really healthy faith.
Is that is a new concept for most Christians, because from a Hebraic perspective, a great rabbi, right, is always going to ask questions and encourage questions. Is that correct? Am I correct?
Yeah. My husband thinks I'm the epitome of a Jew because every time he asks a question, I answer with a question.
Well, I feel like Yeshua did that too, right? Yeah. Who do you say I am?
Exactly. That's right? How you think. That's how you process. Right. And we've stripped that away for the whole lecture approach. You walk in, the teacher's standing at the head of the class or whatever, and just talking away, and you're supposed to listen and go, oh yeah, that sounds good. And end of story, not allowed to think about it. Right. So I am a big proponent of ask questions. It's okay to doubt what you're reading. And then you got to go do your homework, your research, and whatever it takes for you on that journey, even to answer that question.
I think that that's so important, because most have grown up because I said so. And then you haven't worked out your own understanding with fear and trembling. You haven't gone in and said, I don't understand that. I have gone through a whole year of this immersion in the word, that when I'm in the Torah portion, sitting in it, and all I'm doing is asking questions while I'm sitting there. What does this sound like? What does this smell like here? What's missing? That's something that we don't ask. What is missing from this passage?
And there's plenty. You can't hardly find a narrative in which you're going, wait a minute. How did they get from there to there?
Exactly.
This doesn't make any sense to me.
And that one question opens up a really great study opportunity. And then now you understand it and you feel like you're there. You
got to give yourself a break and be able to process. And you have to be able to say, I don't know. This doesn't fit in a box. I did not see the whole concept of temple language in the scriptures till about 10 years ago. And I've been at this for over 40 years, never saw it. And as I began to do more work in the ancient world, et cetera, now I'm going, wow, virtually everywhere. I mean, what is the point of the temple? It's to have a place for the presence of God where people can approach. And so, I'm just, the whole structure of Genesis 1 is a temple pattern. And you go all the way through, of course, and coming into the book of Revelation. And it's just repeated over and over again. How is it constructed? How is it designed? And, why can't you ask that? It's interesting to me. N.T. Wright is one of my favorite scholars. Love that guy. And somebody asked him, if you had it to do over again, what do you wish you knew? And he said, I wish I'd known temple theology. I'm like, wow, how cool is that? So that launched me on a whole new journey, 35 years into the original journey. It's never too late. It's never too old. You're always discovering, uncovering. And for people to think they have arrived and they've got it all figured out, be careful of those.
I won't hire those, because I want everyone, if you ever want to apply for a job, what I'm looking for you to say is, the older I get, the more I realize I don't know.
Correct.
That's the right answer.
Yeah. I'm 70 now, going, every time I go into the scriptures, I am just blown away by how much I've missed and didn't see.
When did that get in there? Who put that in there? I'm pretty sure that got new. That's new. I didn't. So I have a question for you that I didn't even tell you I was going to ask you, but if we're told we are the temple of the Holy Spirit, okay, we are a type of temple, let's say. How would you this is a question I'm going to probably have to wipe out. This is, I just opened
entire
up
podcast.
I went, she did a bunch of the blooper for YouTube. Because I'm thinking, if we are this temple, the connection, how important is it for us, without the answer vary, how important is it us for understanding temple language? Where would we even start? That's what I want to ask you. Where would we even start? If we are the temple, where would we even start?
Yeah, so this is clearly a huge topic, but
Right.
let me say, if you don't understand the concept of temples from Genesis and in the ancient world, you have no chance of understanding what on earth is being spoken of when the scriptures say you are the temple of the Holy Spirit. So Genesis chapter 1 is really your pattern there. Again, you figure out, okay, why, where is the temple built? What is the purpose of it? Again, for the presence of God to be in the midst of it. It's a place for his presence, for people to worship and enter in a certain protocol. And of course, we see the temple building through, Noah's Ark and the tents of the patriarchs. And we got the first temple, it was destroyed. We got the second temple. But the goal always of every temple building, Ezekiel's temple, for example, was to go back to the beginning, to Eden's temple, because the goal was to make the whole earth a temple. And so now we are a living temple. We are spreading the seed of the kingdom of heaven to the whole earth, so that the whole earth once again becomes a temple, a place for the presence of God. And it's a living, breathing, moving, mobile temple. Our best example is going to be the tabernacle in the wilderness. That was a portable temple. Noah's Ark was a portable temple. These were moving by wind or by man carrying them. And so here we are, moving into the New Testament. This is a mobile temple constructed of people who are bringing the temple and making it over, the earth to once again become a temple with God in the center, the place of his presence.
You just made that way clearer. I'm like, that was amazing. Thank you. That was a very complex. I know that it's a huge complex, and you'll need to get all 3 books plus the workbook and take the course to get, and then
you'll have it down.
Nice segue.
I just gave you three books in one sentence.
I'm in shock right now. You did that so great. That was all 3 books like in a I'll cut that and send that to you. That was amazing. It was all together. So in this rapid round, so everyone gets to know you a little better, what is something totally useless that you still have memorized?
Oh my goodness. It'd probably have to be something from history. Oh my gosh. Well, maybe the 7 wonders of the ancient world.
Okay. All right. If you could see a movie for the first time again, what would it be?
Oh, a movie for the first time again. I would actually like to see Amazing Grace, about William Wilberforce.
Ooh, okay. That's good.
Yeah.
So are you an elevators or a stairs person?
I'm both. It just depends on my day.
Okay. And how many flights?
Let's see. I would say 25 flights.
Ooh, okay. So do you follow directions or do you improvise?
Both. If I'm cooking, the first time I make something, I follow the directions. And after that, improvisation.
On a scale of 1 to 5, how adventurous are you? 5 being very.
Does it matter the age?
No.
So in my late teens and early 20s, did you say 5 is really adventurous?
5 is really adventurous, yeah.
Yeah, I was a 5. I mean,
I would say like 25 if that.
Yeah, probably 20. I mean, I would go anywhere, do anything. I'm totally crazy. I don't even know how I didn't get into trouble or shot in, wandering the globe. And I was in military coups and, earthquakes and you name it. Now, not quite so much. I probably would give myself a 2.5.
Are you writing all this? You're writing your memoirs now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
I'm excited.
I've been a little derailed of late. But yes, I was hoping for it to come out last summer, and I'm way behind the 8 ball. So probably not till next summer, but yeah,
You're
all my
exactly where you're
stories.
supposed to be, right?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
So this is kind of a interesting question. I like this question. What is something you really want to like, but you just don't like it?
Taking out the trash. I had to do that when my husband came home from the hospital. I had to take care of all the responsibilities, and that one would probably fit in that category because he always did it.
Did you
All the
realize
time.
how much he did because he wasn't doing it?
Yes.
You're like, wow, I didn't realize how much you do around here.
Shocking. I'm going, oh my gosh, he does everything. And he can do the dishes sometimes. I'm going, I've got to learn how to do all this. And I realized how many things I didn't know how to do or where they were. And I couldn't ask him. Just so yeah, that was a wake-up call for sure.
For sure. I was looking for a light bulb the other day and I realized I have no idea where they are. And because my husband has them organized somewhere, and I just ask him and he gets it and puts it, hey, there's a light needs to be, and he takes care of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's very mechanical, so he takes everything that needs to be fixed. He fixes, machines and all this stuff. I'm going, I don't know how to do any of it. So at the very minimum was the trash.
And you wish you liked it. I wish I liked washing dishes, and I just don't. Yeah. I also wish I liked okra, and I don't. Everyone says it's so great, and I just ugh.
That would be low on my list as well.
Yeah, I can't do that. So thank you for hanging out with me.
Oh, sure. That was great fun. That was
I really it was fast. I told you it's fast. And we appreciate you. And I want you to come back when you're ready for your memoir. So, because I'm sure we'll think of some new stuff to get messy with, right? So,
oh yeah, well, all the messy stuff will be in the memoirs, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Good. And we'll get to have you back when you're ready for that so that we can get the highlights of all of that. So thank you again. And everyone remember, just keep, it's day to day. It's glory to glory. It does get messy, but he's right there in the middle of the mess with you.